Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Cucchiara, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome in. Good afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for tuning in, spending some time with us this afternoon. Just a reminder, as we always do before we get started here, a couple different ways you could tune in, listen, check in, and interact with the show. One is on the radio, KDOW 1220 AM. The other one is, if you go to the website, you can listen live at kdow.biz. However, the best thing we would recommend is download the app, get the RE Radio Live app. That way you can listen to the podcast, download those, listen to those anywhere, anytime, at your convenience. If you go to reradiolive.com, that's radiolive.com. We're a live show. We love your calls and questions. Two different ways to communicate with us during the show while we're on the air live. That number is 1-800-516-1220. You can also text your questions in at 408-838-9060. The topic today, we're going to cover a couple different things. No guests today, and so open lines. It's a great day to call in if you have any questions about past shows, this show, anything at all real estate related, what's on your mind. Give me a call or text. We're going to cover three things today. One is going to be, I'm going to give a little quick market update on the first segment, what's going on in the market, in the real estate market. And then I'm going to give everyone a little update on finance programs. There's always a bunch of different programs, not a bunch I shouldn't say, but there's always different programs that pop up in the world of financing, so it's good to review it with everyone so you know all your different financing options. And then the topic I'm going to finish up with, which I started the other day, was using equity in your home to purchase additional real estate. Got a lot of feedback, some emails, phone calls about that, so I'm going to really cover a little bit more on that. It was a popular topic. Again, the last couple of segments, I am going to be talking about using the equity in your properties, not necessarily your primary residence, but if you have properties, using that equity to leverage the purchase of additional real estate. And we're going to be making some announcements going forward today and the rest of the month. We are going to be discontinuing the live portion of Real Estate Radio Live. The exciting news is the podcast is growing and doing very, very well. So we're going to continue to let people know to make sure that you download the app and get the podcast, because the live show from 3 to 4 will no longer take place after November 9th. And so if you want to continue to listen to the show, the podcast, the content, the information, we're going to continue to have all the great guests we've always had the last 6 years. We'll continue to have the dialogue, the topics. Our focus will not change. The thing that will never change is my commitment to you, the consumer, to help you, to help you become more wise, educated in and around real estate. We'll continue to do that via podcast. The great thing about podcasts is you could download, listen to it again, anytime, anywhere that you wish. And if you go to reradiolive.com, we'll be making these announcements over the next couple of weeks. Again, we'll be discontinuing the live show as of November 9th here in a couple of weeks. Be sure to download the app, and that way you'll have the podcast as you continue to listen to the show at reradiolive.com. All right, little market update. So in general, if you've been listening to the show the last month or so, I'd say, I have been kind of sounding the alarm, if you will, as I do when I see markets adjusting or changing, and it's really becoming more of a buyer's market, and it really becoming more of a stable market. I know for some of us that make a little nervous because we're used to these skyward, upward trends, and we get used to them, and we get a little bit, this is never going to end, but things always come to a slow or always come to a stop. So the good news for the buyers is that it is becoming a little bit more of a buyer's market. It'd be what I would call, we haven't seen it around this area, in the Bay Area, we haven't seen what I call a normal market in probably, 3 or 4 years, maybe at least 3. So what's a normal market? My definition of a normal market is where, real estate is moving, it's doing well, but it's not so crazy that the minute a home goes on the market, you have 150 people standing in line and making offers and bidding up the price 30% over asking. That's not a normal market. That's a crazy market. That's a market that's, steaming hot and moving its way north and going quickly. And, there's nothing we could do about it. That's the markets are the markets. And, you can't control them. You can't change them. You just have to be able to deal with the ebbs and flows. So the good news about a normal market, which I think we're in more now, is that if a home goes on the market, if it's a desirable home, if it's priced right, you're still going to get activity. The difference is you're probably not going to get 20 or 30 offers. You're probably not going to get someone that's bidding way over for it. Most likely you're going to get interest, and most likely you're going to get a few offers, a handful maybe. And every situation's different, but all I could tell you is it's now becoming more of a normalized market. So the reason I bring that up is it's really a great time to move up. The move-up buyers had a hard time the last couple of years. And the reason they've had a hard time is because when you wanted to move and you wanted to buy a home, it was almost unheard of that anybody would accept a contingency offer, which means you wouldn't really have the option or the possibility of putting an offer on a home unless yours was already sold or in contract. And that became really difficult for people. Think about it. Think about going out and finding a house that you really want and then someone saying, sorry, we can't take a contingent offer. I can't wait till you sell your house, even if it takes 30 days. Excuse me. So now more of a normal market. And what I would say to that is for those buyers that were discouraged, get out there and buy. And for the people that are move-up buyers, if you were discouraged, and I don't blame you if you were the last couple of years, now is a great time to get out there and make an offer on a house you like. Take your time finding a house that you really want, and then, work a contingent offer that you buy the home and you sell yours. Those are happening now, believe it or not. Normal market. More of a normalized market. So that is what's going on in the real estate market. And again, I will continue to let those know that the other factor here is that rates are still very, very low. I know it sounds like a broken record. You've been hearing that for the last couple of years. And believe me when I tell you this, if you've been through it, you know it. Those that have been around in this market, in the business for 15, 20 plus years. We have been spoiled with interest rates. We really have. I don't know that we realize how lucky we are at these low interest rates until they start going up, and then we'll look back and we will reflect on the time when we had the great interest rates. And I don't say that suggesting that the rates are going to go up in the next couple of months or next year by 3 or 4% at all. I say that because if right now, if you're looking at 30-year conforming money in the mid 3% range, we could easily see sometime next year the conforming money right around 4% or a little bit higher. That's still, historically speaking, 4% or 4 1/8 or 4 1/4 for 30-year money. Honestly, is still a dream. But that ought to give you an example of what we're doing now. When you have interest rates in the 3%, and then you have 15-year fixed below 3%, that's still crazy to think about. 15-year fixed money below 3%. When you have rates like that, you want to take advantage of them. And so a year or so, I really do think where the rates are going to be up by 0.5% or more. They'll still be pretty decent. But it could make the difference in a person's purchasing power. So if you're right on the bubble, and let's say, right now you feel like you could afford a house for, Let's say $800,000. Let's say you could qualify for a house for $800,000. You're very comfortable with that, with a down payment, your monthly payments, property tax, insurance, and that's at an interest rate in somewhere in the mid, let's just say mid to high threes. You're comfortable. You're approved. That'll work. But you're right on the bubble, and if you wait too much longer, and that interest rate goes up 0.5% or 5/8 or just under 1%, let's say. It doesn't sound like much, but, if you're right on the bubble of qualifying on the debt-to-income ratio, a lot of you may know of when you're qualifying for a loan, they look at your debt, they look at your income, and they look at it with a ratio, and they say, okay, based on what you make, how much you're asking to borrow, we're going to look at those factors, and we don't want your housing debt. We don't want your mortgage payment, taxes, insurance. We really don't want that to be more than 40% or so of the total gross. So those are things to really look at and understand. And different loans for different people, different different debt to income ratios. But in general, my point here is that if you are right on the bubble and you right now today as we speak, you could qualify for an $800,000 purchase, let's say with 20% down, but your debt to income ratios are a little on the high side, but you're still good. 6 months from now, if that interest rate goes up to 4.5%, you may not be able to qualify for the $800,000 house. You might have to look at a house closer to $700,000 or $750,000. So for some, the buying power could change when the interest rates go up. It will affect everybody when the interest rates go up. But some people, it will, it varies, right? I mean, so some people, it doesn't matter if the rates go up 0.5%. They're still going to qualify. I understand that. But for those that may be trying to get into a house for the first time, or maybe a move-up buyer, and you're trying to go from that $300,000 to $400,000 home you bought, 10 years ago now to an $800,000 or $900,000 home, a little more room to stretch, and those income and debt to income ratios are close. If you feel like you're in that arena, I would keep an eye on that and be careful. And of course, I'm always here to run numbers and help those that need financing. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I am going to dive into some of the updated mortgage programs. I'm going to review the ARMs, the fixed programs, some of the unique programs. If you have any questions, 1-800-516-1220, text 408-838-9060. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for checking in and joining us this afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. Topics today are a couple different topics, and as I mentioned, no guests today, and spent the first segment giving you a little bit of a market update, and I would say segments 2 and 3, I'm going to talk a little bit about just review mortgage programs, financing options that are out there available to you. A lot of people, some people may not know about some of the different unique products that are out there. And then we're going to finish up. I'm not sure if it's going to take, maybe we might take actually, this may just take one segment possibly. And then as I look at this, we'll probably spend the last 3 segments on the topic that was most interesting to a lot of people, and that's using the equity in your properties, your current existing properties, to go out and leverage financing and buy more properties. So most likely we'll take that topic up in segments 3, 4, and 5. All right, so I'm going to just go through kind of the obvious mortgage programs, and then when I get to the ones that may be less obvious, I'll spend a little bit more time on them. We all know about the 30-year fixed. What some people don't know is there are loans. You could fix loans really for almost to any customize any way you want. A lot of people don't know that, but you have your standard 30-year fixed, and you can do a 25-year fixed. You could do a 20-year fixed. A lot of people opt for the 15-year fixed recently because they're down, if depending on your credit and other factors, they could be below 3% in the 2% range on 15-year money. And a lot of people don't know you get a 10-year fixed, 10 years amortized, not a 10-1 arm, but a 10-year amortized fixed for 10 years. What that means is your payment's going to go up drastically, of course, because you're going to be paying that off in 10 years instead of the standard 30 that most people are used to. But what it also means is your interest rate's going to be below 3%. Again, that'll depend on the loan amount and credit and et cetera, but it could be below 3%. And so you're going to save thousands and thousands of dollars on interest if you're paying that off early. So those are fixed programs. The ARMs that are adjustable rate mortgages, that's the reference for ARMs, A-R-M, adjustable rate mortgages. You'll hear references. Someone will say, I have a 5-1 arm, a 7-1 arm, a 10-1 arm. What that means is, let's just take the 5-1 arm. What that means is fixed for 5 years. It's amortized for 30, but it's only fixed for 5, and that's what the 5 means. The 1 means it's a 1-year adjustable if it does adjust. So if you were to have that loan in year 6 moving forward, it would move to a 1-year adjustable. And that's what the 1 means. The other thing you have to be not concerned about, but understand on the adjustable mortgage rates is that, adjustable rate mortgages, I should say, is that when they recast, let's say you have a 5-1 arm and you're in year 6 and you leave it because the rates are great and still low, and so you keep that loan. It'll now go to a 1-year adjustable. Okay, so it's no longer fixed. Here's the other thing that'll happen. It'll recast from a 30-year amortized loan to a 25-year amortized loan. And the reason why it'll recast is because you've already had 5 years on the life of that loan. So that's some changes in those ARM products. So that doesn't change whether it's a 5-1, a 7-1, a 10-1. The principle, the concept's pretty much the same. There's some variations that are different after it adjusts for sure, depending on what it's tied to. But that's the idea of the ARM products. The other ones that people are familiar with is FHA. You could put as little as 3.5% down. You could finance up to $625,000 in the Bay Area. Great thing about FHA is it allows low down, 3.5% down, and interest rates are excellent, better in some cases than traditional 30-year money. And it's a liberal program, which means there's a lot of different things. You could get gift funds. You could have people co-sign. You could have a lot of different things going on with the FHA financing. Those are the positives. The downside to FHA is that it's costly. It comes with a monthly mortgage insurance, which is 0.85% of the loan amount, so that depends. It could be several $100s a month. And it's also costly because it comes with a 1.75% of the loan amount. They charge what's called an upfront funding fee, and that goes to FHA. These fees go to FHA. The ones that people like myself that do these loans, those fees do not go to us, just so we're clear. That's an FHA fee that goes to the government for the guaranteed part of that program. So they're expensive, but they're very useful if you have minimum down and you're trying to get in. There's a couple other variation programs. There's a program called Home Ready that is pretty exciting, and there's some options for people on the Home Ready program. You could put as little as 3% down, and there is some good things about that program. But it has some income qualifying depending on what zip code and counties and areas you're in. So it gets a little bit tricky for sure. All right, we are running out of time on this segment. So what we'll do is we'll take a break, and we come back. I will quickly finish up on these mortgage programs, and then we will dive back into the topic of using your existing properties to tap into the equity and to purchase more properties. If you have any questions about The loan programs, the new programs, anything at all. 1-800-516-1220, 408-838-9060 is the text. I'll be back with you to continue in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. No guests today. Completed a little market update, and now I'm going to wrap up talking about some of the mortgage programs that you may or may not know about. And then the last two segments, we're going to talk about a topic that came up earlier in the week, and that is using the equity in your current properties to leverage and buy additional properties. We're going to talk about that in segments 4 and 5 coming up. And if you're just tuning in and didn't catch the first part of the show, I'm going to remind everybody we'll continue to do that. As of November 9th, the live portion of Real Estate Radio Live will be discontinued. No longer will have the live show from 3 to 4 on the station here from as of November 9th. The good news is the content, information, and everything about Real Estate Radio Live will continue, and that is on the podcast. Download the podcast or the app. Make sure you get that. You go to iTunes, Stitcher, all those places. Download RE Radio Live. Easiest way is just go to our website, RERadiolive.com. You could get the app, download the podcast. That way you could follow the show, listen to it at your convenience anytime you want. Again, our focus and objective has not changed. We will continue to educate the consumer and make you more wise and around decisions in and around real estate. We'll continue to do that. The focus, the objective is the same. The difference now is it will be via podcast only, and we'll no longer have a live portion on the radio. So be sure to download, go to RERadiolive.com to get the app. All right. Let me finish up on the programs. We talked about FHA, the standard programs. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things you may or may not know about. A lot of questions I get sometimes are from people that are retired or not working. They don't have a traditional income, let's say, and let's say they even aren't in a retirement age, but they're not quite working. They took some time off. Maybe they were fortunate enough to make some money or come into some money or whatever have you. But there are other programs you could use for income. For instance, if you're retired age 59 and a half or older, we could use qualified IRAs. We could look at investment assets, and we could actually look at those and give you a monthly income based on the assets that you have. So if you're retired, please understand that you can get traditional financing, and you're not going to be penalized with any rates or anything like that. You're going to get the very best rates just like anybody else. I think, unfortunately, that message gets out there. People get nervous sometimes. Oh, my gosh, I don't know what to do. I'm retired. I want to, get a better interest rate. I want to buy this other home. I want to do a move up. You could get those things. It's no different. Income is income. I know traditionally we're used to, most people think when you have income, you think of a W-2, you have a job, you have a business. I understand. But just because you retire doesn't mean income stops. A lot of times when people retire, sometimes the income gets better, and sometimes it just comes from different sources. It might come from a pension. It might come from a 401k. It might come from Social Security. It might come from assets. That all, ladies and gentlemen, is income. It doesn't matter. When you receive something on a monthly basis and you have assets that qualify to allow you to gain monthly income, that could all be used. So if you're out there and you're retired or getting close to retired and you're concerned about it, please do not. And if you have any questions, call me. We could run numbers. We could talk about it. But income is income. It just is looked at. It's not looked at any differently. It just comes from different places. That's all. It either comes from an employer, and that's traditional, of course, or it comes from business, but there's other ways that people collect income. So don't worry about that. Asset depletion is another program that allows people to look at assets, and this is people that may not be of retirement age. Let's say you have a couple $1 million in assets, and you need income. You don't have a job. There's a formula in which we could use those assets and give you a monthly income over a period of time and qualify you. Now, it depends on the loan amount and a lot of other variables there, but the bottom line is there's many different ways to get income. There really is. And be sure to ask any questions if you're not sure. And those seem to be the ones that come up the most, is the people that are retired and then the people that may be in between jobs or out of a job. That gets a little sticky sometimes, and it just depends. So, all right, we're going to finish up. That's pretty much it on the programs. If you have any questions about that, check in, give us a call. When I come back, what we're going to do? We're going to finish the last two segments talking about this use of equity to buy more properties. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
For more on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining me this afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. 2 segments left. We're going to jump into the topic that seemed to be to interest of many, and that is using the equity in your current properties to leverage to buy more properties. So just kind of a summary, some of the most highly rated, listened to, commented shows we have are in and around investment opportunities. For instance, there's a lot of interest in purchasing properties, a lot of interest in buying investment property. The challenge around here is that in most cases, investment property doesn't pencil out anymore because it's so darn expensive to buy something here as an investment property. So it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but it's difficult sometimes unless you've owned property for a long time and then you're selling it and doing a 1031 exchange, and then you buy properties, of course, like properties, which would be non-owner investment properties, then that's a different story. You really have no choice if you're continuing to buy here in this area. But a lot of people, there's a lot of interest in, how do I buy a property? I have some interest in, we get a lot of interest for people in Texas, in North Carolina, and Florida, and a lot of different places. And we have people that we know, we have relationships that, that understand those markets. And there's in many cases you get cash flow right away. You can put 20 to 25% down. And if you're talking about a home, if you're talking about a place for $100,000 to $120,000, I know it's hard for us to understand. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, you could go to Texas, some of these places, and you could buy a nice place comparatively for $100,000 and put 20 to 25% down and have an extremely low mortgage payment and rent those things for $800 to $1,000 a month, maybe more. And it's intriguing for a lot of people. So there's a lot of people that are looking at, taking equity from their properties here in the Bay Area that they've been fortunate enough to gain over the last 10, 15, 20 years, and using that equity to buy other properties, rental properties, say, out of state, or maybe in state, but maybe in different locations. And I used that scenario earlier this week in that, let's say you have a rental property here and you've owned it for 20 years and it's worth $1 million and you own it free and clear. And let's say you're getting, $3,500 a month for rent, which is, you could probably get more for it, to be honest with you, but let's just take a conservative conversation here. You're getting $3,500 for rent. And right now that's all pure cash flow other than paying your property taxes and insurance. But you take a look at a mortgage and you say to yourself, let's see, if I take out a $500,000 mortgage let's make it simple. If I take a $400,000 mortgage, that way I'm still at the conforming loan limit. I'm going to get a decent interest rate, probably in the low 4% on 30-year money. And again, hypothetically, if we're just talking about the example here, I'm going to take $400,000 out. My payment's going to be less than 16. My payment could be 16, 17, some $100 a month. I still have cash flow, and I might even let's just say you break even, or maybe it's a couple $100 a month now. So let's say on the rental property here in the Bay Area, you have instead of a $3,000 net cash flow, let's say it goes to $500. It's minimal. It's $500 a month. But you just leveraged $500,000 out of that appreciating asset. Keep that in mind. That's an appreciating asset that you just leveraged that $500,000 from. You take that money and you go to Texas or somewhere else. Again, this is just examples, hypotheticals. This doesn't mean we're doing it or someone's doing it, but it happens a lot. And you take that $500,000 and you go buy. I use the example, but seriously, you could buy 10 properties. You could buy 10 properties and put $50,000 down on each property. And let's say each property is worth $100. Let's just call it $150,000, and you put $50,000. You finance $100,000 on each of them. You could buy 10 properties. You could finance them all. My guess is with the rents, you're going to have a break even pretty close, if not even a small cash flow. And so someone might be saying, well, whoa, you know, that's $500,000 and you're paying a mortgage on that. And that's true. So you are, but we just used the example. You took it. What I wanted you to do is focus on this. You took it from an appreciating asset. So that home here in the Bay Area is still worth $1 million. Okay. Even at normal appreciation rates, let's just say super conservative, 3 to 4%. 3 to 4%, ladies and gentlemen, annually on $1 million. Do that math, $30,000 to $40,000. Okay, you're still getting appreciation on that asset. Now you buy 10 more assets in Texas, and we said they're about $150,000 a piece or whatever. So let's again, sake of conversation, you have $1.3 million worth of more appreciating assets. Do you get where I'm going here? You just took that $500,000 and you converted that $500,000, and now you've played the multiplication game, because now you have an additional $1.3 million of appreciating assets that you purchased elsewhere. Or the other side, you could look at, what if I took that $500,000 and put it in the stock market or invested it? That's fine. But remember when you do that, it's $500,000. And what's the average return on that? 5, 6, 7% if you're lucky, if you're fortunate. And guess what? That 5, 6, 7% is on the $500,000. It's not on the appreciating assets that you spread that over those 10 properties. So it's something to think about, and it's something that a lot of people are doing. And if you do it right, you could have a lot of success with it, but you have to put a lot of time and energy and effort into it and work with people you trust. All right, we're going to take our last break. When we come back, we're going to finish up chatting about this conversation. If you have any questions, 1-800-516-1220, or you could text 408-838-9060.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Just winding down the show. Just a couple minutes left here. We were talking about using existing equity in your properties to purchase and leverage more properties. And I think it's a great idea. A lot of people are doing it. Again, it depends on the property they're leveraging, and it depends on a lot of different things. And one is, can you afford it? So you sit down and you map it out. I'm happy to do that for anyone that wants to do that. I work with a lot of people that way. Hey, Joe, let's sit down and talk about how I use these 3 properties to then leverage and buy more properties. Or maybe when we put pencil to paper, maybe it doesn't make sense, and then we don't do it. Or maybe we come up with other ideas or solutions. And a lot of people are doing that. I think it's a wise thing to do if you do it right. And if you do if you make these decisions and you take the right steps, then, everything doesn't always work out the way we want it. Let's face it. But if you do your due diligence and you do all the work you're supposed to do, if you sit down, you pencil it out, you sit down with your financial planner, you sit down with your CPA, you sit down with your real estate agent, you sit down with person financing for you, and you put all those things together, and you look at all the data unemotionally, and it makes sense, and you do it, and hopefully it works out. But if you did all that and it made sense, and you looked at all the data unemotionally and it made sense and it penciled out, and then something happens. Life happens. There's things that get in the way. Jobs, health, careers, family. We could go on and on. But you can't plan for those things. You just can't plan for those. So my challenge to those out there is that, spend some time and figure out what you want your real estate life to look like the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and try to plan it out. Could be very simple. Could be I want to buy one home, and I'll be super happy in that home for the next 20 years. It could be I want to buy a home now, and then 5 years from now I want to buy another home. It could be that I own homes now. There's all kinds of things. It could be maybe you want to get into commercial real estate. There's a lot of different things you could do. And that's what we're here to do, is help you educate you, inform you, really arm you with the best information possible to make these decisions. But I'll keep saying, before you make these decisions, please make sure that you consult with people that have done it before, that have your best interest. Not someone that's just looking for a commission, someone that has your best interest. And that would be people you trust in different areas to do that. And make sure you do that. All right, we're going to have to duck out here for the day. Again, I'll remind everybody the live show will discontinue on November 9th, so be sure to continue getting this information. The show will not stop. It'll just be via podcast only, and we'll be distributing that in all over the place. It's great. Go to reradiolive.com and download the app, get the podcast, and that way you don't have to miss the show. You could listen to it any time you wish at your convenience. All right, that's it for the day. Thanks for checking in, and be sure to tune in tomorrow. We'll have Buddy and Bobby back in studio. We'll be going through our show. Have a great afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back with you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Tune in, log in, download our podcast. Discover more at reradiolive.com. reradiolive.com.